Hello, everyone. How are you? Thank you very much for joining us once again for this session of the Phone Racing course for social organizations, where we aim for you to strengthen your skills and raise more money so that you can increase your social impact in some way. Well, today we will talk about a very important topic, which is one of the basic points that we consider here in this academic development, and that is to talk about the website and donation forms. Let's say that these are two essential topics that we want to address in depth, explain their importance, and show how you can make use of them for your organization. So, as a first point, I would like to highlight that it's impossible to develop a fundraising strategy today without a website. The website is a reference point where, in one way or another, we manage to make transactions happen, where organizations have a place to send their donors and have a reference for the people who are part of their community. Therefore, it is absolutely essential for the website to exist. And so I start by saying that if we don't have a website, the first step is to get one. Someone might say to me, "Come on, Diego, you're crazy. Everyone has websites." It turns out that's not the case. Many organizations that come to us, perhaps because they haven't had the opportunity to give digital matters the importance they deserve, still haven't been able to develop their website. What we're looking for here is for that website to exist and, in one way or another, for it to be developed. So there are two types of websites. There is a website that, well, normally more advanced and developed organizations have, which include services, information about the organization, who the board members are, what their annual report is, how to volunteer. If I'm a company that wants to help, how can I do that? Information about the cause. These types of more developed websites can be found. But those websites that can be found in one way or another are not the case for all organizations. There are organizations that are very small, just starting out, and they can have simpler formats like landing pages or one-pagers. It's not ideal. The ideal is the first format I described, which is a proper website. But for those organizations that haven't started yet, between having nothing and having that, it's better to have a one-pager than to have nothing. The second important thing is to have a URL. The URL is essential. You need to choose a friendly or user-friendly URL that relates to the name of your organization. There are URLs that we do not recommend, such as Blogspot type URLs or similar. No, that is not the case. The idea is that the URL you use should resemble your organization as much as possible. So knowing that we need to have a website, which can be complex or simple, but there must be a website and a friendly URL, let's move forward a bit on the topic. For those who don't have a website and want to create one through Afros offers two options for landing pages. There are landing pages that are drag and drop, a bit more advanced. Very simple landing pages. You can park your domain on Afro and have your landing page rendered on Afro without any issues. So, well, once we understand that the website is important, why is the website so important? Because the website is where transactions happen. Someone was telling me, "Oh, I have a page on Facebook." You can't tell a donor on Facebook, sign up or donate. Suddenly, Facebook offers some options to be able to receive donations in some way. But it's not the same as having your own system connected to a CRM where you capture your database, create lead strategies, one-time donation strategies, recurring donations, and you can create digital experiences that are absolutely relevant for this to work. So it's not enough to just have a profile on social media. A website is absolutely essential because it's where transactions happen. What's next? Next, it's important to understand that there are two types of visitors who come to your website. There's one type of visitor, which is people who, for whatever reason, become interested in your organization. Once they're interested, they want to know more about you, and somehow they visit your site. Those people might come because they saw you at an event, they heard about you, they searched for you on Google, or someone talked about you. And well, these are people who, in one way or another, come in to learn more about you. And because of those people, the communication on your website has to be strategic communication. It's not just any communication. It's communication that, in one way or another, makes the donation process friendly. Therefore, it's very important to consider that if someone is going to visit your website, that person should be able to understand what your organization does without you having to explain it to them. That is to say, on the homepage, I should be able to give an idea of what the organization achieves and what work it does. After that, we have people who have visited before, the donors who have donated to you previously, etc. It's another type of audience that you have to convince less, but because of the first-time visitors, it's very important that your communication on the website is more strategic in some way. And in that, when we talk about content within the organization, let's say something very important is that there's content that you need to highlight. When you want to describe your organization for those first-time visitors, what is your cause? I help with poverty, I educate, I protect the environment, I conserve species, I promote sports, etc. I promote peace. So, what is your cause? What is your impact? I've managed to benefit so many people. I've worked all over the country, etc. What are your testimonials? I want to tell the story of Laura, the story of Jimena, what her life was like before your work, and how it is now after your work. What are your testimonials? What are the validators? I am supported by the Ministry of Education for the Family. I am supported by such and such, or these media outlets have mentioned me. And the legal information is, well, the legal texts, terms and conditions, privacy policy, and it should be very clear who is a registered entity. Well, with all the cases, a little parenthesis. I often get added on Instagram by people from APRIC who say, hey, I have a really nice job, please support me. But since I can't find those validators or legal info in the orders they send me, I never do it. So it's very important that you have those validators very clearly. And there are some formats in which we show the content that, in one way or another, we always suggest should exist. Every organization should ideally have a hero video or a main video where you explain what your organization does on an institutional level. Short videos are impactful. Show who you help to make it real. Green content is timeless. Here's an advanced site example. Green content is timeless. Show faces for tangible impact. See Charity Water for advanced development. It's content that never expires regarding your cause. And well, always having faces of the people you're positively impacting is important. We humans need to see that to make it tangible who you're helping. So that part is very important. So here I'm sharing an example website for reference, and you can use it for that purpose. On this reference website, you can see an example of a site from an organization that has a fairly advanced development in relation to how a website is made. This organization is called Charity Water. Charity Water is, for me, one of the most developed NGOs in the world. He has some spectacular cases. And their website, while it has a huge depth because it has many sections and options, is like a landing page. I come from Super Clean and they get straight to the point, explaining what they do, how you can make an impact, and how you can get involved. That's the kind of site organizations should have. And well, I insist, why are websites so important? Because on the website, you have lead generation, donation generation, new partners, and can provide service to the donor. Cancel my donation, modify my donation, I want to volunteer, keep a donation receipt, keep a report, whatever you need. So it's really not optional for an organization to have a website. It's one of the most important things that can happen, and that should happen. So, well, let's say that, in a way, how do I generate visibility for the website? All the activities I do as a fundraiser, as an organization, let's say that organizations that are perhaps less developed do a lot of events, dinners, etc., etc. More powerful organizations, on the other hand, do a lot of social media, paid campaigns, or use influencers, that kind of stuff. All activities need to refer back to the website because that's where people make a transaction, right? More powerful organizations do a lot of social media, paid campaigns, or use influencers, that kind of stuff. All activities need to refer back to the website because that's where people make a transaction, right? For example, you go to a radio station and say, follow us on Instagram. On Instagram, you don't have a button that says donate, sign up, volunteer, or participate in a recurring donation. Therefore, you should never refer people to those places. Instead, you should mainly refer them to the website because that's where the transactions happen. Therefore, all web strategies are web-centric. That is, all digital strategies should revolve around getting people to the website where they can make transactions and take some additional steps. And well, let's say that at the homepage level, one of the important recommendations is that the organization's homepage should have a one-pager format. That is, how do I manage? To convey all the things I mentioned earlier, like the cause, the context, the testimonials, the impact, the validators, without the person having to navigate through more than one page. I go to my website, and on this single web page, by scrolling down, whether on a phone or a computer, I can find all the relevant information that describes the organization and allows me to make transactions. Therefore, the donation form should be super accessible as soon as you enter the organization. Then, well, we have something important. What are the sections of that one pager? So the main screen, where you have the logo, the menu for organizations that have one, you have the call to action, the form. After the main screen, you have the second option, which is the hero video and a descriptive paragraph. If you don't have a hero video or a main video, then having an image is important. Then you have After that section, we recommend that you have relevant information about your organization, which are like insights. They are the means that in some way help to understand the greatness of your cause and the greatness of your impact. So 22 million people in Colombia are hungry today, and you can say that in 2022, we're going to provide food to 100,000 people in the country. That's one example. Or we've helped 500 children in our hospital to support them with their basic chronic illnesses, that kind of stuff. So that's something you should definitely mention. The more numerical, the better. People don't read long paragraphs, forget it. They need to see indicators with a subtitle explaining what it's about. People are very social media style. They skim through the website. Then testimonials and validators, special testimonials with TED, stories, quotes. Since I met the XYZ Foundation, my life changed. Now I have a future in perspective, etc. People are very social media style. They skim through the website. Then testimonies and validators, special testimonies with TED, stories, quotes. I don't know. Since I met the XYZ Foundation, my life changed. Now I have a future in perspective, whatever. Validators are those who support me. It is not me dealing with the calls, but third parties who support me. Media outlets, organizations. Lastly, we recommend a section within the one-pager. Remember that these are not international sections. The whole one-pager is what we call free wind, free ask questions, which are the most common questions a donor or someone wanting to get involved with another organization might have. For example, is this help for children? And do you work nationwide? We don't work nationwide. Those kinds of questions are very important and clear, and you know that you always get asked these, so leave them at the end because they generate a lot of value as mediation. And finally, the footer. The footer is crucial on websites, providing access to legal texts and links to key topics. It summarizes key messages, making it extremely important. The key messages are also summarized in the footer. Therefore, the footer is extremely important. Nothing. Here I give you an example. This is a page for those who want to see it. It's called lospaisajesdelambla.org. It's a well-constructed page. It's a web page that, in one way or another, follows these recommendations and serves as an example of a good practice. Charity water is also, as I mentioned, another good recommendation. Then there's something very important. Among these actions that I mentioned, there's one called the mainstream. It's the most important part of your website. Why? Because the people who arrive, I don't know if you've ever heard of the bounce rate. Bounce rate means out of every 100 people, how many don't navigate the website and just leave? So the bounce rate tends to be high, especially when there are people who don't know you, have never visited you, and have never been to another organization. So you have, at the end of the day, a unique opportunity to show those people something relevant that compensates for the fact that what you do is very important and, in a way, encourages them to support you. So the main screen, which is what the person sees before they start exploring or navigating, is what allows them to connect with your cause, with your work, and decide whether they want to support you or not. Therefore, on the main screen, there are some very important elements that need to stand out. One is what we call the human picture, or the image that can somehow describe your organization and what your organization achieves. It can be an image. In my case, for example, organizations that are environmental might use pictures of forests, wildlife, that kind of thing. For organizations focused on children, it would be about childhood. For organizations that are about development, like supporting a culture, a town, a society, or a community, it's about showing how they can develop better, etc. There are many ways to do it, but faces in a way are prioritized. All the faces and hopefully looking straight at the camera. That creates in some way a connection with people. This process is very human, and that makes it work better. And something super important, the donation form has to be there. Direct donation access is crucial. The main screen should be simple for quick decisions on any device. The donation form has to be there because if someone is ready to take immediate action, like, oh, I'm going to donate, it needs to be something they can support in a very simple way. Therefore, the main screen is extremely important, both in its desktop version and in its mobile version. And it aims to prioritize that when you enter, you can easily make a yes or no decision, whether you want to help or not, and understand what you do in a very intuitive way. Okay, let's say the idea of that main screen is to reduce the show rate, to decrease the number of people who leave, and to engage those who come to your site. Therefore, your organization's biggest effort should be on how you build that main screen, which is the first thing people see when they enter your website. It needs to be consistent and somehow encourage people to support you. Well, here's another very good example from Charity Water. If you notice, there are key photographs, donation information, and the message is clear, specifically because they are asking for money. And nothing. The functionality of the website is not prioritized. Communication is prioritized. The menu is up there, hidden away, small, and not talked about much, etc. So it's one of the important things. For example, this page, the UNICEF page asking for help for the Tiklanaka detective, is a very well-designed page graphically. You have an actor. Who is going to receive the help? All the context we've created in the photo won't be explained at all. You already know why you're asking for help, and you have the donation companion in a very clear way. It's an excellent page. I would give this page an award for how well it performs. And there's an additional point that's a bit more technical and doesn't relate to communication, but you shouldn't overlook it, what we call the core web basics. Core web basics means those things that your page has to do so that it is considered to be working well. So the first thing is that it's responsive, meaning it works on phones and desktops. It's super important that it's responsive. The second thing is the loading speed. The loading speed has to be very fast. I enter the page and it loads automatically. It can't be later. And finally, analytics. It means that your page should have all the stack that Google and Facebook offer regarding analytics installed, so that you can somehow create audiences. So if someone visits you, if there are people who donate, where did that donation come from? Whether it came from social media, email, whatever. And so that in some way you can create a consistent digital strategy. Without analytics, you can't do it. It's a non-functional requirement that's not visible, but is essential, just like the loading speed of the page. If the speed is slow, the bounce rate increases. If your page doesn't meet a certain speed, you're going to lose donations. It sounds incredible, but yes, speed is related to that. Next, the form is a super important point where Afros works its magic. Afros helps you here to have a super important form because in some way, the form has many features that are essential for organizing fundraising activities. So the Afros form is not only very adaptable, so you can place it anywhere on the page. There are many platforms that are rigid. The way you ask is rigid, but here it's not. Here, you can put the form wherever you want. But let's say that it's not just that that's important. It's crucial that the form is very well thought out to create a positive experience. This has been done. Fundraisers creating companies know what works best and least. Large organizations copy this format for their campaigns. The more it works, the less it works. So much so that many large organizations copy this format for their campaigns. So what's important about the form? First, it has a call to action, a description that somehow confirms what you're asking for the money for. Second, it allows you to choose whether the donation is one-time or recurring. You can suggest which option you recommend. I can suggest monthly, etc., etc. It shows you the suggested amounts, which are the values that you want to donate in some way. It allows the donor to enter their own amount if they want to. It provides a description about the amount the person chose so that you can give an equivalence, an explanation of why you're asking for that value, why you're asking for $20, why you're asking for $50. Not all grants build that easily, but those that do can use it. You can customize the call to action of the form, and you can add an additional validation message that explains in some way the donation, who it will go to, why it's so important, and why it's so relevant. All of that happens in the Afro box, and everything is configurable, which is the big advantage for you. So it is very important that the form is placed and the text is designed, the call to action is crafted as well as possible. It's important to note that the form, though seemingly harmless, is advanced technology connecting you with your payment, CRM, and email marketing platforms, all powered by Afros. It captures abandoned data and integrates natively with Google and Facebook, which we'll discuss later. Each Afros form, like the homepage one, has a dashboard to track donations, one-time, recurring, or manual, helping you make informed decisions. With these basics understood, focus on building a great website. Each form in Afros, like the homepage one, has its own dashboard to track donations, whether one-time, recurring, or manual. This helps in decision-making. With these basics understood, focus on building your website well. Ensure the main screen is effective, the photo is attractive, and the layout is appealing. Understand the basics, and ensure you build a good website. Once built, emphasize the main screen, ensuring it works well, the photo is attractive, and the layout is appealing. Ensure the first experience works. That ensures that first experience works for you. So, key messages just to summarize. It's mandatory to have a website. You absolutely have to have it. The URL needs to be user-friendly. Your website should prioritize communication. For that, it's recommended to use a one-pager format. The most important part of your website is the main screen, the first thing the donor sees, whether it's in desktop or mobile version. Besides that, using the donation form in the first interaction is very, very important. So with that, we close today's session. We talked for almost 25 minutes about the website, and it's really important that you all make use of these recommendations so that your website is as professional as it should be and achieves the results you expect. Thank you for your time today, and well, we will continue our sessions to learn about fundraising so that you can take your organization to the next level.